because he was not confronted with a great fighter and a great mobile fighter like Manny Pacquiao.
Saw Jeff Horn's family sitting ringside, his dad watching the 29-year-old son who turned to boxing after he was bull.
So Jeff Horn has options. Now, a lot of American fans may not understand what the options are, but we're going to talk about it. Now, of course, you're saying, well, wait a minute. Isn't he the man? I mean, isn't he supposed to fight Terrence Crawford to lose his belt because Terrence Crawford is the mandatory? Jeff Horn is the 147-pound champion. WBO. Keith Thurman's the WBC, the WBA, and you have Errol Spence, who's the IBF. There is no interest in either of those parties to fight each other. In fact, it was well speculated that Jeff Horn would have to fight Terrence Crawford even just days after Jeff Horn defeated Pacquiao, whether controversially or not. TstreeT Controversy, this is TstreeT Controversy Live. We're going to listen to what Jeff Horn has to say for educational purposes. And we want to know, I want your opinion if it seems as though that he doesn't seem too thrilled to fight Terrence Crawford. Now, we're going to talk about Anthony Mundine. We're going to talk a lot about Anthony Mundine and why that's a big money fight over there in that oceanic area, New Zealand and especially just Australia. It's a super fight, but American fans are not trying to hear that. They're going to say he ducked Terrence Crawford. So even though there's that double standard when it comes to money, as far as, well, if put it this way, certain fighters are able to avoid certain fighters by saying, well, it was more money in him than in him. But when it comes to certain fighters like a Jeff Horn, they might not let those rules apply to him. You see what I'm saying? Why is this taking so long? They're going to get me in trouble. I'm just trying to listen to the post-fight interview. Get me in trouble. Hold on, we get into the post-fight interview. I want you to, wait, let me back up. Too far.
2 weeks early, they were talking a smart game, and that's being confident before the fight, and that's what you have to do to come to try and win. And he definitely pushed me in there. I felt my time was a bit off, but managed to get him out of there in the end.
Were there any worrying moments in those early rounds when he was pressuring you? Did you look like you were starting to get a little bit fatigued, maybe worry about the pressure that was coming at you before you got your second wind?
Yeah, I was just getting my timing there. The whole fight I felt like it was a little bit off tonight, but I managed to clip him with a few good ones, and unfortunately our heads did come together as we've both got cuts on our heads again, so that's a bit of a shame. But yeah, most of it was caused by punches, I'm pretty sure.
Now, Bob Arum's just over here. He told me moments ago that it's time for everyone to book their plane tickets to Vegas because we're off.
Now, this is what I was talking about, like this part right here. He doesn't seem to, look at Bob. Bob salivating. Now he doesn't seem to be too thrilled about, fighting Terrence Crawford. But remember, he told Floyd better get his motherfucking walking stick or get these hands. He ain't say it like that, but I'm just saying, but when it comes to Terrence Crawford and a big Vegas fight and the fight that would really test who he is, although also, congratulations to Jeff Horn. He just had a baby. It doesn't seem like he's too thrilled about the Terrence Crawford fight, In
April.
He gets a little smug about it.
Is Terrence Crawford who you want next?
Look, it's a big possibility. If that's what everyone wants to see, I guess that's what's going to happen. It's all the entertainment business, of course.
Entertainment business, of course.
Must have been nice here in Brisbane tonight, though, walking out as the champion for the first time in front of these adoring fans now.
Oh, it's great being able to defend here as well in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. It's such a fantastic place, and I wish we could bring more fights down here. I would just try as hard as I can to bring all those big fights here with the help of Top Rank and Juco Promotions. So thank you, guys.
Well, congratulations, Jeff Horn. We wait and see what is coming up next.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to thank my corner team, Ben, Stephen, Adam, my coach, Glenn, Dundee Kim, my sponsors, Hannay Lawyers, Oxmar Properties, Recon Solutions, Everlast, a whole heap of them. Guys, you do me. You wait me able to train full time as well as Juco. Thank you heaps, guys.
Thank you very much.
All right, I didn't want to cut him off. He just don't seem too thrilled about the fight, with Terrence Crawford. Now, if he was to go another route, the only route he could go, is, to try to fight Errol Spence if the Errol Spence beats Lamont Peterson. Oh, excuse me, I didn't mean to say that. If Errol Spence beats Lamont Peterson, if, or Keith Thurman, who has 2 belts because unification trumps a mandatory. But I'm not saying those fights can happen. I'm saying those are routes he can try to go, even though there's political mumbo jumbo in the middle of it. But if he doesn't fight Terrence Crawford, then he has to ask the WBO, okay, well, can you give me an extension or some shit, or can we pay Terrence Crawford some type of step aside, some money or some old shit, because his co-promoter is Bob Arum, and they could do some maneuvering for him to be able to keep his belt and not fight Terrence Crawford and fight Anthony Mundine, but will they? That is the question. Now, Anthony Mundine is a very, very, very popular fighter on an international scale. It's a shame that he didn't start really getting a name out there, as far as over here in the States and in parts of the UK until like this social media YouTube age came along, because I started watching him. I was like, damn, like this dude is on a video game. Let me go binge watch who is like who he is. And this was years and years ago, damn near a decade ago, about a decade or so ago, So ever since then, I've watched all of his fights, and I've watched and covered majority of his fights over like the last 3-4 years on YouTube, some shit like that, even though they come on here real early in the morning because of the time difference. So Anthony Mundine, or in this case, the Jeff Horn fight, is, the card to start like 5:30 in the morning on a Wednesday, Eastern Standard Time, if you're in Philadelphia, New York or something. So if you're over in LA, that card is starting like 2 o'clock in the morning, and the main event's coming on like 4:30 in the morning or something like that. So it used to be like really, really difficult, because it was like, for one, we have a very big issue in watching, these fights live. Every Anthony Mundine fight I ever had to watch live, I had to go through hell, because it's broadcast on something, what is it called, Arena TV or Main TV? Something, I think it's Arena TV, and it's just hard to find those fights. So in the case, sometimes ESPN over here, ESPN3 picked up some Anthony Mundine fights. They picked up the Shane Mosley fight, and I think the Joshua Clottey fight. I forgot. But when it comes to Jeff Horn from now on, he always has that ESPN connection. You see what I'm saying? So Jeff Horn and Anthony Mundine will be seen on ESPN. But of course, the question is, can Anthony Mundine beat a Jeff Horn? Now, Anthony Mundine is, let's go look at him real quick. He has fought as high as 168 pounds, as you can see. 175, 168-pound champion. He was fighting at 154, wanting to be a champion in descending divisions. Remember, he was a WBA champion. At 162, and he was very, 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 very close to getting a WBC title shot against Jermell Charlo. So he was very, very close to getting that title shot, even though he had lost on the WBA path to Joshua Clottey. But when he had fought Charles Hatley, as you know, Charles Hatley went on to fight Jermell Charlo and got knocked out. He fought Danny Green in what people are saying one of the biggest robberies they ever seen. And yes, it was, in my opinion, Anthony Mundine won that fight. But now, he's fighting again on January the 17th. I got to start doing some research on this. And also, several people have reached out to me about wanting to cover Anthony Mundine fights. And basically, if you reached out to me, or any fights in the Australian, New Zealand area. But if you reached out to me, I'm going to get back to you. Just give me a couple of more days after this video. I got a friend over there that I haven't spoke to that's very close to Anthony Mundine, a couple of them actually. And we're going to see if we can make something happen, especially when it comes to a media workout or like a press conference, during fight week or something. We need to get that over here. We need to get that in the States. So I want to stream that. But I'm going to talk to you guys. So if he was to fight, Jeff Horn, even if Jeff Horn does fight Terrence Crawford in Las Vegas, he would likely make maybe 3 times more money, in my opinion, fight Anthony, at least 2 times, But up to 3, depending on, you know, the marketing and the build-up, if he fights Anthony Mundine over there in Australia, because he's still a big name and he's very, very... See, what I've noticed is, here's the thing, what I've noticed. You know, guys like Anthony Mundine, you know, Tyson Fury, Billy Joe Saunders, you know, those outspoken, you know, non-American fighters, over there where they're from, they're looked at as like, oh, you know, they're a dickhead while they're always talking shit and everything like that. But it's crazy because over here in the United States, that type of shit sells. You have to talk shit over here in the United States to sell. It's that weird dynamic. Like I said, if guys like, you know, Billy Joe Saunders or Tyson Fury were from the States, you know, they would, you know, they would be all over the TMZs and all kind of shit like that. Look at Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner has that crossover appeal, you know, because he knows how to market himself in a fucked up way, in dickhead ways at sometimes, but he's got mic skills, you know what I'm saying? And he keeps himself relevant in media, whether it's punching people in the face on the Las Vegas Strip, you know, or even the bad stuff. But, you know, whatever they say, you know, good publicity, you know, bad publicity is still good publicity, either way. So it's going to be interesting to see who Jeff Horn's going to choose, because Terrence Crawford is supposed to come back in April on ESPN in Las Vegas. You know, so if they don't secure Jeff Horn, they got to secure a fight. So I'm thinking there's some political shit going on where they're like, yo, well, listen, Bob, because he's co-promoted by Top Rank, you know, and Top Rank is the reason he's on ESPN and is the reason he did get the Pacquiao fight. So they're like, yo, bro, you know what I'm saying? We fed you. Now you're trying to bite our hand. You know, like, you going to fight Terrence Crawford, motherfucker, or lose your belt. You know, so they can really, really stop the Anthony Mundine fight. And with the timeline that Anthony Mundine fighting the Horn for in December, Anthony Mundine fighting in you know, January, the timeline is there for those two to fight in, you know, let's say May, even no, not April, you know, because they both need like some rest and, you know, training camp. Jeff Horn just had a baby, so we could say, you know, like May, no later than June. But, you know, it depends. It depends. Like, in my opinion, it really comes down to Arum, in my opinion. You know, and I want to see Jeff Horn versus Terrence Crawford, you know, but I also want to see Jeff Horn versus Anthony Mundine, you know. So if I was to pick which one I wanted to see more, whether it's Terrence Crawford or Anthony Mundine or Jeff Horn or Terrence Crawford, okay, you know, gun to my head, Terrence Crawford, you know. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. We cover every single major fight live. And links to my social media right down below. Please subscribe.